Okay. Hi, this is the Brevard Winds and Brass bass clarinet. Um, it's kind of designed, it seems to follow a lot of the Selmer things. There's a little touches from other instruments here. Um, it's really well designed. I enjoy the key work a lot. My biggest thing that I am kind of missing on this, and Andrew works really closely with the factory to make sure that we keep getting good improvements on these things. So we've already seen improvements. I let him know I didn't like the neck initially, and there's now two, comes with two necks. So he works really closely with the factory to make sure that these basses are top quality. The target audience for this bass clarinet is really going to be students. But I think anything that is a really high quality student instrument isn't truly a student instrument. I mean, I've met a few people that play on this and they really enjoy it, and they play on it in professional settings. And I would say if you're a woodwind doubler, I would probably go after one of these as well. Maybe bass clarinet's not your primary instrument, and you're looking for a low C. This is a great low C option. My initial thoughts, like before playing it, is it's missing a vent. He's already talked to them about potentially adding a vent, and that'll help the low notes get to be less boomy. But I found that on this one, this is the wooden version. The wooden model, the low C actually isn't quite as boomy. It resonates pretty well. It's still really powerful, and I guess if you like that, then that's great. I think for a lot of people in ensemble settings, when you're trying to play low in those new pieces of music, you don't want it to be so explosive, and that allows you to just play louder without that abrasive sound. So it's just kind of a preference thing, I think. But I think the standard is kind of moving towards having that vent. The other thing that isn't quite for me, it's not a drawback, and if you're a student or a doubler and you've never played a low C bass, this key work on the thumb is a little cumbersome for me. And that's just because I'm used to a different system. Not necessarily a negative thing, it's not my preference, but it doesn't not work. And again, if you're learning it for the first time, then it's fine. And it is pretty logical. It's just not what I'm used to, right? The outside, so we have the E flat on the pinky, then we go down, we have D is on the thumb, I guess the outer thumb, I suppose. The one closest to your hand, maybe that's the inner thumb. Inner, and then the outer is down to the D flat, C sharp, and then low C is the lowest one. To compare, I have my Royal Global Polaris, and these thumbs, kind of similar, pretty much the same as Buffet. This one is D, the C sharp, D flat, and C natural. So normal configuration there, very standard on that. Although we're all kind of looking for that thumb E flat nowadays, ever since we saw it on the Bakun Q, everyone's been going crazy for it. I'm gonna play a little bit on this, and then I'll do a side-by-side comparison on my Polaris. Just gonna be playing the Wilson Osborne Rhapsody for clarinet, just a little bit of it. I was working on it earlier today in a lesson, so it's fresh on my mind. And then I'll give thoughts, anything that comes up as it appears. mistakes were me, not the instrument. Okay, so some things that I'm noticing right away. Is that on the B flat, the throat B flat is really stable. That's a good thing and a bad thing if you can't, as a student, bring that down and get that in tune. And make it not stuffy, then it's going to be a little challenging. I'm throwing down every finger on the right hand, trying different resonance combinations. And I'm getting some decent response, but it is just really stable. So if you get it, you're going to have it. It changes a little bit when I add the third finger on my left hand. It actually starts to be adjusted there. Typically, my resonance finger for B flat, I use, I keep going down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do 4, 5, and the pinky on the G sharp key. That's my typical one. I think if I was going to move over and primarily play this one, I would have to get used to throwing down that third finger. But again, that's really stable. I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm a little surprised with how stable that is. That's really nice. That feels fine. For me, the issue I'm having is, that's not a me thing, it's just the angle of the neck. It's different than what I'm used to. Once I readjusted the instrument, I was able to get those notes to come out. So we have, it's a really nice, this is a really nice instrument. I do like it a lot. There's not a whole lot of like negative things about it so far. Quite honestly, it's just like matter of preference things. Like if there was like a D, if there was like a D key, we have a left hand D and a thumb D. If there was a D key on the right hand, and then, so this is just kind of the trend. This is what's happening moving forward with a lot of people and a lot of these new basses coming out, is we have the right hand E flat and now thumb E flat instead of D on the thumb, to give you two options for E flat. And this one, again, this is a student like in mind design. I'm not going to say it's necessarily a student model because it's just way above that. But this is really designed with students in mind. And so like we're missing that D here on the right hand. And that's not, I think, especially for students, there's no negative in that at all. In fact, that means there's less parts here and there's less things that you can break. And again, if you're doubling and you're playing in like a pit orchestra and you play clarinet, bass clarinet for a few measures or maybe like a minute and you're needing to switch, like this is a great option. I'm gonna now just go back to the Rhapsody, play a couple measures from the beginning, and we're gonna do a side-by-side on the Polaris. might mess that up. Uh-oh. All right, so now let's just get onto the row global and maybe see if I can pick out any major differences. Now, of course, the row global Polaris is my primary instrument. That's my personal bass clarinet. This is what I play on all the time. This is the bass clarinet that I put up against the Copeland Neos. And this is kind of the bass clarinet that I just base everything off of. So I think the last thing I'll do once I play this, I'll play the low C and just go, and then switch back over and play the low C again on the Brevard Winds and Brass bass, and we'll see if there's any major difference. It might not come through in the video, but I'll just let you know what I hear. I'm getting some air, hold on. Okay, so it's hard to say. The B flat, I think it resonates a bit more with the resonant fingering that I like. Obviously, this is my instrument. I'm used to it. And again, it's a very stable instrument. The B flat is really stable on row Polaris basses. I like being able to manipulate it a bit more, and that's just me as like I'm a primary bass clarinet player. So like in my head, that's something that I really look for, is being able to manipulate pitches, not just only with my face. I don't want to compromise the tone. So on this instrument, I think it would just take maybe a little bit more work for me personally to get the B flat exactly where I want it. But it does offer really good stability, which is going to be really strong with students. What I will say, if you're a band director getting this for your band, make sure you have a good bass clarinet mouthpiece. I don't think anything can top like the mouthpiece. The beginning of the instrument is where most of your sound comes from. So if you have a piece of garbage attached to a nice instrument, the nice instrument will sound like a piece of garbage. And it really doesn't matter what you do, or if you're a student learning it, what you do to make a difference, because that piece of garbage mouthpiece will ruin your experience. So if you're a band director, you're really trying to look for maybe some common ones that students find success on. On bass clarinet, B45s are okay. You might look at Clark Phobes mouthpieces. Going back to Van Doren, maybe the BD5 is a common one. So just thinking about some good options, or seeing if you have a local music store or a rep that's able to come out to your school and test your kids on different mouthpieces and find what they're going to be best on. Because with an instrument that has a lot of stability, you need a mouthpiece that's going to work, because it won't be you won't be able to manipulate notes so well on a mouthpiece that sucks. Everything's going to be flat or just not in tune at all, and that's not something you want. All right, I'm gonna go ham on low C, and then we'll switch over and see what's up. And then I'll talk a little bit more about the key work on the Brevard Winds and Brass bass. Here is, I don't know, Carnival Cruise. So I'm just putting as much air as I can. That low C, it's pretty strong, but I'm not, there's not a lot of like, how do I say? Like, there's not a whole bunch of reediness, and it's not explosive. It's just that low clarinet sound. So we're just getting that beautiful, pure low clarinet sound. And the hope is that we have a really well-designed instrument, and the vent is gonna not make too big of a difference here. Similar, when I played that Copeland bass, we found that similar issue, or maybe lack of an issue. So I'm hoping that we're in the same boat here, and it's not too big of an issue. Yeah, and one thing I will say that I'm a little indifferent, and it's not like a negative way, is that it's kind of designed like an older bass clarinet on the fingers. So on the plateau keys on most bass clarinets, they're completely flat. These have divots, and I'm in my head, I'm thinking like, oh, why would we do this? But again, it doesn't really matter. This is like a preference thing. It's not thrilling to me, but if I was a band director and I gave my kid a bass clarinet, they will put their fingers in the right place with these divots on the keys. They're not like super deep either. They're just noticeable, which for me is like, it's a preference thing. I don't necessarily like it, but it's not negative, if that makes sense. But again, if I'm putting this in a kid's hands and they're learning bass clarinet for the first time, like, you're gonna see kids putting their fingers just wherever they want. Bass clarinet, it's not as crazy, but it's like unmistakable where your fingers are supposed to go. So that, I think, is probably a positive, especially if you're buying this for your school. This is something that those long keys, just be careful. Make sure if you're a woodwind doubler, this maybe isn't an issue, because hopefully you're a professional at this point, that these keys, they get a little fragile because they're really long. So it's just something to look out for, band director people, especially middle school, high school. Just long keys are scary, and there's not a lot that we can do with these long keys. So just watch out, make sure kids are putting their instrument away correctly, and we're not grabbing it up here to put it away, because we'll bend it and make a new instrument. Here is low C. So I think initially what I'm noticing, it kind of resonates a little bit longer, and it is a little bit more, it's the slightest bit more boomy. It's not enough, I think, personally, on the wood version of this instrument. It's actually not, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I previously have played the synthetic, same bass clarinet, just synthetic, and it was more noticeable, and it wasn't super bad. Like, none of this is super negative, but this is just like, I'm being so nitpicky because this instrument is really nice, and if you're gonna spend your hard-earned money or your school budget on this, you wanna make a good decision. So I'm just being really picky. I will say that I really enjoy this instrument. I would probably heavily recommend this, and also, just a side note before I just, squirrel moment. I saw this is great, especially if you're a band director. Being able to have your students lock this instrument in place. Now, you do have to make sure that they're twisting the instrument, not pulling, of course, like every other instrument. I recommend we grab here where there is the most wood, palm contact, keys open, and this instrument comes apart. When you put it together, these lock in place. This locks in and it puts the instrument exactly where it needs to be, and it puts the instrument in alignment. So you don't have to worry about the biggest issue. Even on my Polaris, I have this problem where sometimes I will overdo just a little bit. Like with this, there's no mistaking it. You put the instrument together and it's correct. So just grab it, put it together, twist, and then you know it's in alignment when these have locked in place. So this is another just really great. Students are in mind when we're building this instrument, and that's just a really big plus, a big positive with this. I kind of forgot where I was on the low C bit. All I got is the low C is not going to annihilate your band sound, and if you are playing, I don't know off the top of my head any musicals that will take you down to low C, but if you're ever in a group and you're playing low C, you just maybe a little bit less air, and you're not gonna have anything sticking out. I feel like it resonates a little bit longer, but it's so minute. That's such a tough detail. And there's not a whole lot of literature that you would be playing with your high school that bass clarinet is gonna live down there on low C. They might get to it here and there, but I can't remember in high school really playing. I think we played one piece of music that required low D, maybe like 2 or 3 of those, and then like definitely one that played low C. So I definitely would highly recommend this Brevard Winds and Brass. How much was the wood? Okay, so the wood is $4,000, and I know that Andrew works to make sure that if we're doing education stuff, that there's some decent savings there for you. But $4,000, and that gets you a really great wooden bass clarinet. So, and again, you can't really beat that. The Polaris, when I bought it with student discounts, was a little over $6,000, and maybe a little closer to $7,000. So that's something to think about too. Is this is a really budget-friendly option, and I hesitate to use the word cheap because it's not. I mean, $4,000 isn't cheap for anybody, but as far as an instrument goes, this is very affordable, especially like in the world of bass clarinet. This is going to be a great option. Cool. And then one of the other things, fun side note, and I know he does this with the saxes, maybe, is can also happen with bass. Doesn't happen with bass. You can custom logo.
And serial number too.
Yep, so you can get a custom logo and serial number. So if you wanted to throw your high school's logo on here, right there on the bell. Super cool, super cool little tidbit, and it's only a couple extra bucks. I think it's 10. So if you're really looking for this, I think this is built with students in mind, but I'm really thinking bass clarinets at this price point. You're looking at woodwind doublers, you're looking at schools. Is this an instrument for a primary bass player? I'm not gonna say no. If you have learned on the other system, you just need some time to get used to this. There's a lot, but there's not like a whole lot of literature that's getting you down there. But new music and new composers are using the instrument more and more effectively. So it's just that's a preference thing. Some people like this and some people don't. I'm one of the people that's not a big fan of this, but that's just because I learned on the other system. So I think that kind of sums it up. Brevard Winds and Brass. I'll have the link in the about section of the video. So just if you're interested and you want a great bass, this is an awesome choice, just about for anybody. Cool. Peace.